Welcome to episode 54 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Laws Guy. It's December 24, 2010. We're in Milan. It's Christmas Eve, and Serie A drops a story that sounds like tabloid fiction, but isn't. Inter announced a new coach, Leonardo. Not Leonardo, the generic football man. No, it's Leonardo, the former Milan player. It's Leonardo, the former Milan coach. It's Leonardo, the guy who wore the Rossoneri shirt, then stood on the Rossoneri touchline, and now takes the Nerazzurri job across town. Today on the pod, we'll set the Milan-Inter context, why this is an impossible move in the first place. Tell the Leonardo story, player, coach, and how he gets to this moment. Relive the whiplash season at Milan. Track what happens next at Inter, and the trophy that makes it real. Then zoom out to other impossible moves across rivalries and what football keeps teaching us about identity, loyalty, and winning. First, why this sits differently in Milan. Lots of cities have rival clubs. Milan has two global brands, sharing a stadium even, and sharing a sense of belonging. The derby is not just a fixture, it's a sorting mechanism. Which colors are us, which colors are them, and who you're allowed to become. That's what makes certain transfers feel more like career moves. They feel like defections. Fans don't just follow a team, they invest identity. So when a player, or especially a coach, crosses the line, it can land as betrayal, even if the contract logic is clean. On this day in 2010, Inter take that emotional logic and light it on fire. Because the appointment is official and a Christmas Eve decision, Inter confirmed Leonardo as coach after Rafa Benitez is dismissed, and Leonardo signs on. So who is Leonardo in the Milan story? He arrives at AC Milan as a player in 1997, and he becomes part of that late 90s identity, Brazilian technique inside an Italian machine. A retrospective of his time at the club notes him as a key figure as Milan chase and win the 99 Scudetto. Then there's a second act. Leonardo returns to Milan later, not just to play, but to live inside the club's institutional bloodstream. In 2009, he's appointed head coach at Milan, and it's immediately polarizing. A club with gravitational weight handing the touchline to a man without a conventional coaching track record at that level. And then the derby happens. In August 2009, Inter destroy Milan 4-0 in the derby, and Reuters reports the humiliation in the blunt way only a derby can be reported, as a public lesson, not just a loss. That match becomes a symbol of Leonardo's Milan season, the extremes, the promise of idea-driven football and the brutality of reality when it collapses. So in May 2010, Leonardo leaves Milan after just one season. He waves an emotional goodbye to the club's fans after the last home match of the season. A legend steps off, and the story could have ended there. Culturally, Leonardo is a Rossoneri, and that's why the Inter appointment detonates. When Inter come calling in December 2010, just a few months later, you can already feel the storyline forming. A man who tried to embody Milan now offered the keys to Milan's other cathedral. Now, why does Inter do this? Well, for context, Inter are not in a sentimental mood in December 2010. Rafa is out. They want control, immediate authority, and a name who can command a dressing room without a long onboarding. It's really straightforward. It's a change of coach, and Leonardo is a choice. But choosing Leonardo specifically is also a psychological flex. It signals Inter's confidence and performance can override identity, or at least silence it. And it nearly does. Leonardo's Inter stint gets remembered for two things at once: the sheer taboo of the appointment and the fact that it ends with silverware. The capstone is May 29, 2011. Inter beat Palermo 3-1 in the Coppa Italia final in Rome. The match record is plain, and Inter's own club write-up later frames it as a turbulent season finishing with a trophy under Leonardo. So the impossible move isn't just gossip, it produces a concrete outcome. Leonardo crosses the city, takes the job, and wins a major domestic cup. That's what makes these moves so unsettling. Football will forgive almost anything if you deliver, and it will remember the betrayal even if you do. Both can be true. Now if you zoom out to the wider map of impossible moves, Spain gives you the purest version of rivalry transfer theater. Luis Figo from Barcelona to Real Madrid in 2000 is the archetype, a move that becomes mythology because it is read as a conversion, not a contract. Laudrup is a subtler variant, the beautiful footballer who ends up on both sides of the divide and with trophies. After 4 consecutive La Liga titles with Cruyff's dream team in Barcelona, Laudrup made the impossible move to Real Madrid after falling out with the Dutch genius, and then promptly won the La Liga title in white. In a couple of weeks, this OTD pod will tell the story of how that move played out perfectly on the pitch. England has a version that feels like betrayal because it's local, intimate, and identity-coded. Sol Campbell. He leaves Tottenham and joins Arsenal in 2001 on a free transfer, a move that remains notorious among Spurs supporters. In Scotland, we have the version where football collides with societal history. Maurice Mo Johnston signing for Rangers in 1989 still lands as an earthquake in Glasgow football memory. It caused uproar, and the emotional residue lasted. And then there are the impossible coach moves, because when managers switch, it can feel like the club's brain has defected. So across countries and eras, the pattern holds. Impossible moves aren't impossible because contracts can't be signed. They're impossible because fans experience them as a violation of meaning. So what do we take away from Leonardo's Christmas Eve move? 3 closing points. First, football rivalries are identity systems. They run on belonging, memory, and symbolic boundaries. Impossible moves expose that boundary because when they test whether a club is a community or just a brand. And second, coaches crossing a divide hits harder than players. A player can be framed as labor. A coach is framed as ideology, training ground habits, selection logic, how you speak about the club. That's why Leonardo to Inter felt like a story about governance as much as trophies. And then third, winning doesn't erase the emotional account, just complicates it. Leonardo wins the Coppa Italia with Inter in 2011. The football record stands. But the emotional record, the how could you record, never really closes. Rivalries don't delete files, they archive them. On this day in 2010, Inter made the call, Leonardo took the job, and Milan got one of its most uncomfortable football stories, a man with rossoneri history becoming the nerazzurri boss on Christmas Eve. That's all for episode 54 of OTD, the day Leonardo's impossible move became official, and what these rivalry crossings reveal about football psychology. If you have other impossible moves I should cover, players or coaches, email me at otd@17lawsguide.com. Tomorrow, in episode 55, we go back 150 years, the first Edinburgh Derby, Hearts versus Hips in 1875. See you then.